Alright boys, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we're going to be talking about the brand new SN700, the finale. This thing is an absolute beast. If you saw from the clips at the start of the video, I could imagine it's being a beast in PvP as well, but the focus of today's video is just the absolute fucking train of a thing this is in PvE. It absolutely melts bosses, it melts through content, it's really fun. There are some downsides to it, so there's some cases where you probably don't want to use this build and have other builds to switch to. That's like much areas of the game now where you have like an elemental build for a certain boss, or you have a weak spot build like the P90 for Forsaken Giants. You alternate between builds at an in-game level, and where this build specifically really shines is open world boss events such as Manibus, high damage or high HP bosses, so things in raids. We have two builds to switch between. You have like a trash mob build where you can quickly tab into a finale build. And again, this thing is just a lot of fun in general. It's probably one of the most high damage snipers in the game now, I believe. You know, Unstable Bomber SN700 was fun for a little bit, but it doesn't pack near as high numbers as this thing does. This thing goes crazy. And I don't want to keep you guys waiting for too long. I do want to jump into sort of the build here and how it works, the consumables and things I use. So to start off with, I'm not like a giga min-maxer. I'm just I get it as best as I can with what I have. So I min-max with the tools at my disposal, and then I work on improving that build, right? Because you're not going to have the best version of the build off the rip. That doesn't make any sense. You're not going to have shinies for the build off the rip. You're not going to have probably level 17s off the rip. You're not going to have maybe 5 deviations if you're a new player. I don't have 5 deviations for this build in particular. So I'm just going to showcase you through what I have and what it does at a lower tier level, and where you can even take it to upon improving your mods. And that's sort of the important goal of my build, guys, is I want to make them as new player friendly as possible, while also maintaining some realistic expectations. Are you going to have shinies for every slot? No. Are you going to have a 5-5? Maybe. Are you going to have shinies in your weapons? Maybe. Are you going to have a cookery knife? Maybe not. You're going to have all of the foods available to you on your server. Depends, right? So I want to keep this realistic. And to start off with, you obviously have the finale. You know, blueprints, everyone can get the blueprints. There's no problem getting those. I like how they've done the new system. If you haven't played in a while, you just literally go out, get Starcrom, and pick the blueprint you want, and then enhance it. You can transfer it if you've got another level 6 and you want to try the finale. It's that easy. It's really, really simple now. And I like that. So that's great. So pick that up, and then on offhand, I am using the bingo still, which does kind of suck. I do wish there was an offhand to replace the bingo. Someday maybe there is. With my org build, which should be coming out maybe this week as well, I am actually going to be replacing the bingo for that org build in particular, and really only just for a couple boss rotations. For the focus of this video, we're pretty much exclusively going to be using bingo offhand. So the stock standard, and then that's the same for the cookery knife here. Now, if you haven't played Once Human in a long time, or you haven't played at all, and you don't know how to get the cookery knife, because the cookery knife, or the cookery knife, I don't know how to say it, is not actually a blueprint you can obtain. You have to farm these from silos, sorry, not silos, monoliths. Monoliths drop weapons upon killing them. So you just kind of got to rinse and repeat monoliths over and over until you get a few cookery stocked up. As again, you can't repair these, but they're essential for the for this effect down here. Defeating a target grants all weapons attack plus 30% and crit rate 15%. Especially essential for this build, as this is a crit sniper build at the end of the day. It does proc off weak spots if you actually read into it, which we will in a second here. But the actual damage is going to come from critical hits, which is very important. So, I guess we can jump onto what the weapon actually does. So the SN700 Finale is basically a shrapnel weapon that is going to proc a shrapnel ability called Reverb. And basically, after triggering shrapnel, you're going to gain 1 stack of Reverb, up to a maximum of 5 stacks. Each stack of Reverb is going to increase the hit parts of shrapnel by 1. So basically, we're proccing this unique trigger from the sniper, and that's going to allow us to hit more parts of shrapnel. Kind of works a little bit like the G17 does, the shrapnel Glock, which I made a video on probably a year and a half ago now. Except it doesn't hit weak spots, it hits crits, which is way stronger. So yeah, each part, and it will, reduces the recoil as well, which is fine. That doesn't really matter. As you'll see in these clips, I actually play first person a lot of the time now because I find it really fun. And I hipfire it. The hipfire accuracy is really freaking good on this thing. So you can just kind of animation cancel hipfire, which is something I will get onto. Is you might be curious on how I'm firing the SN700 so fast. And there's a technique called the rapid style bolt cancel, which is still in the game. It's actually, I think, been smoothened out. It feels faster than it used to. Maybe that's just because it's a little bit slower on the AWP. I don't know. Or the bingo, rather. Yeah, so basically, yeah, you get the reverb stacks, right? And the goal is you don't want to reload. So basically, yeah, there's a chance to load the last bullet when proccing reverb too, which is kind of what we want. That's a good thing. So we're running also rapid silentness, which is the coloration blueprints. So slap that on there. That's going to be important for the animation cancel, which I guess we can jump onto that now. So when you're shooting this gun, it's going to be fairly fast, right? You can see that bolt pull. It's pretty fast. But if we simply incorporate a little bit of a strafe like this, I'm spamming A and D. If you're on mobile, you'll be spamming your thumbstick left to right. If you're on controller, you'll also be spamming your analog stick left to right. See how we're resetting that bolt even faster? Again, this is the default speed. Still fast, but we add in that strafe, it's a lot faster, right? And you can get into a really nice rhythm with it. This is also doable in third person. Right? There's also a second way to do this, where you can actually just spam in and out of ADS, like so. Oh, this one, I've got my binds messed up, hold on. So you can sort of just do the same thing here. That's if you don't like that sort of strafing aspect. I personally like the strafing. You can't really do that in and out ADS trick in first person. It's a little bit buggy because you have first person aiming. So you can just strafe it like this. Right? And again, I have fire with the sniper. I don't actually aim that often. So that's the trick to animation bolt cancelling with rapid style. You literally just strafe, or if you're in third person, you can just get into a rhythm with ADSing in and out like so. And that's going to be the most optimal way to go about it. Same applies for bingo. We're putting rapid style on the bingo. So I actually also should be running a different mod on here. We'll go over mods in a sec here, right? So I want to go over the gear first, probably makes the most sense. So running the cage helmet, so when triggering shrapnel, additionally triggers 1 times. So as you can see, when we hit shrapnel twice, we get 2 reverb stacks. So as you can see, the second notch of SN700 Finale, after triggering shrapnel, gain 1 stack of reverb. So we're proccing shrapnel twice because we have a 40% chance. It's going to proc it once. Bang, we're going to proc this. It's going to hit it twice. So we're going to get 2 stacks of reverb each time, which is really nice. And also on top of this, I did forget to mention, if you hit a weak spot, it guarantees a shrapnel hit, which is really nice. So that's what makes this build very specific in some cases, is bosses with weak spots, enemies with weak spots, it's going to shine a lot more than it does on bosses without weak spots. And you will see that I probably will have like a boss that doesn't have a weak spot in here with a boss that does, and you'll kind of see that drastic difference of getting, you know, those guaranteed shrapnel hits, right? A 40% chance of hitting shrapnel is actually not that high. So it's you know, it's less than half of the efficiency of having a weak spot boss. So again, a lot of builds in 1.7, especially nowadays, have cases where they're stronger in boss fights than other builds, and you basically rotate between a few builds, right? So I have an orc build, right, that I switch between. This is like my AoE trash mob killing build, and then I have my SN Finale, which is like my bossing build with weak spots. Again, we've got the cage helmet, we've got the Savior 3-piece, so I'm running it on the pants and shoes, and the mask here, you can run it in any order you want. This just gives us a shield when we deal damage. It consumes our HP in turn. You can see on that 3-piece set there. And we also just get another further 10% while we're shielded, which is pretty much going to be most of the time. When you're starting off an engagement with a fight, you might not have any shield until you'll pop your deviation, which we will get onto the cradle in a sec here. We have the, what do you call it, the two-piece lone wolf set to top it off, to top our gear off, which is, I believe, my pants and gloves here, sorry. Yeah, so shoes, mask, and shirts for Savior. Again, you can do it in any order you like. Blueprint conversion allows you to do that. But yeah, we're running the gloves here. The lone wolf gloves and the lone wolf pants, which are going to give us extra crit rate. Again, we're hitting crit rate with this shrapnel build, which is really nice. So we're getting big, juicy numbers. Magazine capacity bonus is also another plus on top of this because we want to avoid reloading. If we reload, we lose our reverb stacks on the off chance that we're building it, which we don't want, right? We want to keep those reverb stacks in so we can get that big, juicy damage spike. Jumping onto the mods for the SN700 itself, we're running Shatter Them All. This is not supposed to be weak spot, but it's the only one I have right now. I would recommend probably the Violent Shatter Them All, or you could probably try Shatter Them All Shrapnel, which I don't have. But this is also going to have weak spot. I think your best bet is probably the Violent one. I just haven't really grinded out my Shrapnel mods yet. Over the past week, I've been focusing on my Power Surge ones. As you can see, I've got a lot of these up. Yeah, so I've been focusing on Power Surge the last week over my Shrapnel. But now, since I'm making this build, I'm going to start focusing on my Shrapnel and playing with this build and progressively improving it from a sort of baseline to an, insane line, right? And I think that's part of the fun progression, is getting a build together, it being strong, but it not at its full potential. And you're working on using that build and getting mods for that build. So I'll go to Shadowhound with this build and farm Shadowhound and get Shrapnel mods and grind that up. And that's part of that progression that I have fun with. You're not going to have best mods when you first put a build together. That doesn't make sense. There might be some masochists out there that will grind out the mods for a different build using a different build. That's up to you. That's not how I do it. I like playing the build and progressing that build itself. Anyways, jumping onto the bingo mod, we're using just vulnerability amplifier. Of course, this is pretty self-explanatory. We've got a shiny here. We also have the crit version, which is perfect for this build. Ideally, we're not really doing damage with the bingo, but it's just nice to have that best in slot mod. Get that flash effect, which is really nice. I don't think the flash effect stacks when I'm using the SN700. I might test that, but I'm pretty sure it's only when you're using the weapon. On the cookery, you can run whatever mod you want. It doesn't matter. It's not going to proc any mod technically because it's not under a category. So, yeah. For the cage helmets, we're running Momentum Up Luna, of course. We're just bumping up our crit damage, our weapon damage when we are low HP. Of course, running a low HP glass cannon build, as is the meta for any DPS build in Once Human, which I don't mind. I think glass cannon builds have a place and are fun for that. For mask, we should be running Shrapnel Carnage. Now, I do want to preface that I, again, have a weak spot mod here, and it should be... Oh god, there's so many mods on this page now. It should be the Violent version. You should be using Shrapnel Carnage Violence. So I am sacrificing a little bit of damage here by not having the optimal mod. Again, that's good on what I'm going to be working towards getting. So Shrapnel Carnage, chuck that on there. It's going to give us more weak spot damage when we do get Shrapnel weak spot hits. It's also going to give us a higher hit weight, which is quite nice. Jumping on to the gloves here, we are running... God, it's so much harder to see the mods. We're running Crit Boost Crescents. Now, there's two options here. You can run Crit Boost Crescent, or you can run the... Where is it? The Down Attack. Or is it not Down Attack? It's Arrow, sorry. Yeah, Crit Boost Arrow. So you can run either or. It depends on which one you find yourself having up and on more often. Maybe also just the one you actually have. Like in my case, I have Crescent. I think Crescent is generally better to have upkeep on. If you don't know what this mod does, it's basically just you get extra damage based on your shield rates. So I have my shield up generally quite a lot, so I'm going to get the most use out of this mod. Aero is the same thing, but instead it's damage while you're in the air, which, especially on a visual server where you have the gravity tools and the gravity modifiers, it can be pretty good, especially if you run the setup that I do with consumables, which I will get onto later. It's pretty good, right? It's not bad. You can also just run Crit Boost Violence if, you don't have either of these two. But I really recommend Crescent. I think it's the best min-max here. Has the most consistent uptime. Right. Jumping onto the shoes, Rush Hour, of course, best in slot for pretty much every build in the game. Is the mod page? Where's the mod page? The mod page has been a little bit annoying lately, just because you have to scroll so much. I could be using search, but it is what it is, right? So yeah, I recommend Rush Hour Downstar. I don't really recommend any of these other niche ones, like after switching weapons. It's just annoying to have that many conditionals. As it is, we already have so many conditionals. So Rush Hour Downstar, Rush Hour Violent, whatever floats your boat. Rush Hour Downstar is again fantastic with the consumable setup I do run. You could stack this with the air on the gloves and get that sort of double conditional proc on the one condition. It's up to you. I have no problems really procking these. So it's up to you, right? And I don't miss out on too much if I accidentally don't proc something. But as long as I am, getting that muscle memory in on my consumable rotations for aerial combats, which we will get on to soon, then it's pretty solid all round. Getting on to my shirts, I run Ardent Shield, Luna, of course, for bumping up our damage, Glass Cannon. Oh my god, I hate scrolling these mod pages. So again, we're just getting Giga crit damage bonus, and also this mod is when you gain 15% damage, while the shield is active, you gain 15% damage reduction, and when the shield exceeds 1000, single instances of damage will not penetrate the shield. You basically become a fake glass cannon, right? You just become a tanky glass cannon with this mod. I think it's the best version of the top mod for Luna, so I think there's no reason not to run it. Graphics glitch here, there's no textures on this vest. On the pants, you're running Deadshot. Deadshot is just going to give us I believe this is the one that removes weak spot, but gives us a bunch of crit damage. Oh, dude, these mod pages are fucking annoying. Yeah, so each crit hit by a non-melee weapon grants plus 5% crit damage up to 45%. So we're getting a lot more crit damage out of this, which is really nice. And again, it's removed upon reload, which we're trying to avoid. So we're going to have, basically want to have permanent uptime without reloading. And we're just going to get, 45% more crit damage in there. And again, this is another downstar one. So again, having our height advantage, being in the air, being above our enemy. With things like Manibus, of course, this isn't realistic. You could really min-max it. For example, you could have a Manibus preset, or a preset of the build where you're below the enemy, where you're below the boss, right? Where you're running just like a violent mod or something like that. That's totally up to you. Personally, I think that's just a little bit annoying, a little bit tedious. I'm just going to try and proc my conditionals when I can, and that's that. So that's pretty much the builds in itself here, right? It's pretty solid. Of course, we're running all legendary hides, so we get max HP, so we get the strongest shield. If you didn't know, your shield scales based on your HP percentage, so that's pretty important to have that up there. For deviations, now, my deviation's kind of arse, and this is where I have a lot of room for improvements, and you will see maybe better numbers if you have a better deviation, of course, right? I'm just using Mr. Wish. I think Mr. Wish is fantastic for this build. As it's sort of E skill, it's like a shorter cooldown skill, double down. It just has a shitload of extra damage. 75% weapon damage boost for 8 seconds. And since our weapon is based on such quick bursts, that 8 seconds of 75% does a lot of work. Of course, stacking that with Mr. Wish himself, he's going to duplicate our weapon. So we're going to have the finale out, and he's going to be shooting it as well. He's also going to get the damage effective double down if we pop both of them at the same time. And most importantly, Mr. Wish is going to proc our shield, which comes in at the cradle here. So, damage with light machine guns and pistols. I don't really know why I have that on. I could probably drop that. Precision weapon mastery, so 15% sniper damage. Of course, you want that one. Resilience, 30% less damage from monsters. We had a slot open, so I put this in. We have a tactical combo, so weapon damage plus 15% after reloading. Switching weapons here, so we're going to be switching weapons to proc this one, other than reloading. Again, this build, we're going to avoid reloading as much as we can. Deviant Energy Defense, this is going to be the main one that I was just talking about. We use our deviation, we get shield, right? This is going to be our main way to start off a fight with some shield. We pop our deviation, he's going to give us, I think it's 1.5 bars from memory. Yeah, on a little bit less than 1.5 bars down here, and that's going to be our initiator. And then after we start dealing some damage, we'll be able to build that shield up more through our 3-piece savior sets. So that is the energy defense there. Then we have shield protection. So when shield is above 40%, which we should be after a few tags on an enemy or a boss, we gain a little bit more damage reduction, and we gain a further damage increase by 10%. So just a little bit of a min-max there, which is quite nice. Deadly combo is just going to buff our shrapnel damage by 25% for 4 seconds after triggering shrapnel. So remember, we're getting the cage helmet, we're getting an extra shrapnel. So we're dealing shrapnel twice, and we're getting this effect pretty much instantly on the second bullet. I can't remember if they trigger at the exact time or it's one after another, so this buff applies on the second bullet. I'd have to quickly run that up and do a test. But I'm pretty sure both shrapnel apply at the exact same time based on the cage helmet. So it'll be on your third shrapnel hit, you would get this buff to really come into play, right? So next up we have the Invincible Strike. So after dealing weak spot damage, again, it's a little bit more of a weak spot build here. Shrapnel damage plus 2.5% and shrapnel crit damage. Again, getting crit damage buff off the weak spot damage. So this shrapnel build, again, very heavily leans into hitting weak spots but buffing criticals, right? Which I think is a fun dynamic. There's a lot of builds in the game that do that now, especially a lot of shrapnel builds. So this goes up to 10 stacks, so that can be pretty strong as well. That is the cradle here, and I think for the most part that is the sort of core of the build. We've gone over the weapons, we've gone over the mods, we've gone over the cradle, and now I think we jump onto consumables and sort of the rotations. So when it comes to consumables, I'm not going to recommend anything too crazy. Like, you can always add on like pristine deer meat and get an extra 2% here and there. It's just like, it's such a, like, sure, you can min-max it, but the game's not that hard at the end of the day, and it's just putting that much time into making those foods, like farming those animals and things. It's, just, in my opinion, it's not fun. It's not fun. I just literally buy my foods from the online trading. Like, I literally go in here. There's usually what I'm looking for, canned steak. There's usually bone and deviated here, right? So that again, I don't do the farming shit. Other players can do that for me. I'll just see what they have, right? So we're going to run canned steak, right? That's going to increase our shrapnel damage by 26%. This guy actually also has the pristine beer meat on. So we're getting another 2% on top of that. So that's 28%. He also is using the advanced stove, so which makes it last longer. Stardust fusion makes it increased duration by 75%. And then we have Chefsaurus as well, boosting it by another 32%. That's actually pretty low Chefsaurus. I think you can get up to 38 or 42% Chefsaurus at a min-max level. Again, I'm not too worried about it. It's not gonna bother me at the end of the day. The build's already slapping shit as is, right? Again, we have bone and deviated sausage. You know, you can get better versions of bone in. This one's got a 38% Chefsaurus, which is not bad. And then the sort of other sort of foods and I guess whims, we haven't covered whims, is I use Stardust Energy Drink for the aerial, of course, so we get a double jump. On top of that, I stack in the Spring Legs whim. Of course, Aero Leap on top of that, and I just use Featherweight as well for the weight. This basically allows me to just get a lot of height when I need it, so, you know, we'll just go up here, for example, and show you what I mean. Is when I jump with this build, do I still have energy drink active? I don't know, we'll just pop one in case. I didn't. So, I just get a lot of height, right? And you have to be careful with this, as I often, more than not, will break my legs using this the food consumable rotation. But yeah, so just make sure you're careful. You might have to, quickly pull out your deviation before you land so you don't break your legs. But, keeping that height is good, so you can... It takes a little bit to get the muscle memory rotation in. I'm still not too good at it myself. And it's also a little bit annoying to do the animation cancel with the bolts on the rapid style while in the air. This is where I would say the third person kind of beats out because it's a lot more consistent. Again, sometimes, I can't be asked doing the aerial shit. And I'll just, yep, you see, I've just done it myself, but like, it's, you gotta be careful using this. You do gotta be careful, right? You do gotta be careful. That's pretty much the entire premise of the build, though. I don't think there's really anything else I need to cover, right? We've gone over the gear, the cradle, the mods. Of course, you should be running a tier 6. If you don't have a tier 6, that's fine. Just whatever tier you can get to if you're a new player. I think we might have missed the weapon accessories. We're just going for range, right? So bullet velocity, range. But I'm using iron sights. I like iron sights on snipers. Stability and accuracy is nice, just to remove a little bit of recoil, even though there isn't too much. But also the accuracy is important for our hip firing, which I like doing. Running obviously the best magazine here. There really is only one option. Purple sniper 8B ammo. And same attachments for the bingo as well. Mono suppressor, baseline sniper scope, and extended tactical SR mag. That's pretty much the entire build. In terms of deviations, you don't have to run Mr. Wish, by the way. There is like a few other options you can run. You can run Voodoo Doll. You can run Lone Wolf Whisper. It's not as good as it used to be. Still pretty strong, though. You can also run Butterfly's Emissary. It's not bad for this build. Even though it's a weak spot deviation, it can still put in some work. So really, you've got like, I'd say like these 4 options, really. You could mess around with a couple others, but I'd say those 4 are the main ones. Mr. Wish is just, in my opinion, just really nice. Especially since it has just such quick uptime on that 75%. You get 8 seconds, but it's on a 14 or 20 second, yeah, 20 second cooldown. So you get like, you know, almost what, 33% uptime? 30% uptime maybe, on that 75% damage bonus. I think it's worth it. It's a good trade-off. Of course, you're not getting shield from that, but as long as you're dealing damage, and then occasionally you get your shield from your deviation, you know, it's pretty nice. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the inside build. It's a lot of fun, and I'll see you guys in the next one, which is going to be the Org build. We're going to be going over, what is it? It's this one here. The Electron Clown. It's a very fun build. It's my main pack destroying build, which I use in like silos, or I use in the new wave rift mode, or like if I'm out in the open world doing like, you know, the POIs, the phantasmal areas and things like that, and the, you know, the gravity abyss regions. But yeah, for bosses, this build is really fun. If it's a weak spot boss, this build is incredibly fun. So yeah, I think it's really good for those things. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.